Hello my audience! Welcome back to the channel. This is Planet Kritzel, I'm Robert, and today's video is going to follow a topic that I've started in the last video. If you haven't seen it, the link is down in the description. In the last video I've been talking about TV shows whose broadcast has been discontinued here in Germany. The shows from this list today are a bit different. These shows have been broadcasted in Germany to a certain extent. I'm talking about shows from my past, when I was watching a lot of telly, as I pointed out in the earlier video. I'm especially talking about the phase where I've watched a lot of comedy shows, as I have pointed out in my first Inspiration Origins video. The link is also down in the description. When I was I think it was 11 years old, I have started watching comedy shows and shows in general. I was watching a lot of telly when I was a kid. Because when I was young, watching telly felt like freedom. I bet everyone felt like that as a child. That was freedom to watch whatever you wanted to watch. And 4 of those shows that I really liked, they have basically vanished from television. And this is a problem because I can't get them. And that's the reason they're on this list, because today's video is about shows from my past that I miss as a DVD box set. The first show on my list is a comedy show, but it is a show supposed for a younger audience. It was like a teeny comedy show. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much, and I think it was one of the only shows my family didn't mind me watching. Although, if they would have minded, they would have stopped me, wouldn't they? I think this is a question a therapist should answer in 20 years' time. The show I'm talking about, I think it was very popular in the US during the time. It was produced in the early 90s, in the first half of the 90s. Here in Germany, the broadcasting began actually after the show had finished in America, so from mid-90s till today, actually, although I think it is very rarely broadcasted here in Germany these days. I'm talking about the show Clarissa Explains It All, that stars the also wonderful Melissa Joan Hart, which some of you might know as Sabrina Spellman from the Sabrina the Teenage Witch live-action show. The show Clarissa Explains It All centers around the character Clarissa Darling, who explains life and everything that happens in it as a teenager, which is going to enter the adulthood. Everyone who wanted me to say adultery, no, we are not at Sanders sites, thank you. And with this sentence, I just outed myself as a offender, which is, thank God, not a bad thing. At least not for me. What I always liked about this show is that Clarissa always had some kind of explanation. Like, from her point of view, what a certain situation means. She always gave us what she was thinking about things. Also, something that has been pointed out about the show, this was one of the first shows that actually showed a friendship between a boy and a girl without romantic involvement, which was actually very cool. I mean, every time I rewatch the show, the only way I'm able to rewatch this show is because I have taped some of those episodes on a video cassette, which sometimes I rewatch when I feel like it. Oh my god, still watching video cassettes. I think this is one of the most retro things possible. And every time I hear this clash of a ladder going against the window, I'm just going, "Hi Sam," because her best friend Sam always entered her bedroom through the window with a ladder. This is something that would have been interpreted very creepy throughout the last years, like, it would be creepy these days, okay? Very creepy, but I found it cool. It was a cool thing. Also, she was directly addressing the audience, like, she's talking to us. We are also young adults. We're going to grow up and wonder about all those things, like the first romance or the first car or bad grades in school, something like that. She had a connection to us when we were younger. One thing I found very amusing was the relationship between Clarissa and her brother Ferguson, who was a real pain in the butt. If it would have been my brother, I would have locked him in the basement. Yes, this is what I would have done. Or maybe I would have thrown him out my window. I'm an only child. Is that recognizable to you? Another thing that should be recognizable about the character on screen is that his mother often points out that he's an only child because she never wanted two of that kind. I don't know. Or, the parents. The parents were always portrayed like a bit wacky. Like her father was this architect who always was building peculiar buildings. I can remember an episode. He was supposed to design a doghouse for a poodle named Precious. Oh my god! And the thing about the mother, Janet and Marshall, they're such a lovely couple. Janet was like tofu everywhere. I don't know, does tofu taste good? I heard it tastes of nothing. Or she was always a bit strange, I thought. But this is what made the show funny. And I also realized that from a certain point they actually changed the interior of a house, because there are episodes where in the back of the kitchen there's just a window, and then there were other episodes with another staircase. Like in the living room there was a staircase, and there was another staircase in the kitchen. Sometimes I wondered about that. This is actually totally off the topic, but it actually goes within the show, so it's okay. Other people watch shows for the comedy or the characters. He's watching the shows to see if the interior of a house changed. The show has run for 5 seasons with 65 episodes, which is a fair amount of episodes. The thing is, after seeing Clarissa Explains It All here in Germany, where it's simply called Clarissa, they have dropped the title actually part ways. I don't know why. Maybe because the German translation didn't sound good, or people were just like, hey, Clarissa. It's just Clarissa. Here in Germany, the show has been broadcasted since 1995 on Nickelodeon, of course. The thing is, there are no German DVD releases of this show. There is a release for the first season of the show, which was released within the Nickelodeon Rewind collection. The problem is, DVDs from America can't be used here in Germany. I think you would also need a DVD player from America. So the DVDs are not working here due to some coding, I think. I don't know, I'm not an expert. But only the first season has been released that way. Other seasons were apparently scheduled but were dropped from the schedule. Various episodes from all of the seasons are apparently available for stream on different streaming services. Since I'm not a streaming service person, I'm a box set person. I'm a person who buys DVD box sets with a complete show on it. Like my Family or Bones or Golden Girls box sets that I own. And Murder, She Wrote. And Little Britain. And the IT Crowd. Seriously, the list could go on and on and on. So, this show is actually not available for me, which is quite sad, because it would be such a good show to pass on to other young children, to other young adults. Because young adults these days, I mean, okay, life has changed with smartphones and stuff, but maybe it would be interesting for them to see how the youth has been back then. I don't know. If I would have children, and that is a very big if I would, then I would like to pass on this show to them as something that I have enjoyed as a young adult person. But I can't. The next show on my list is a full-on comedy show with adult jokes. Yes. And it is a show I might have mentioned before when I was talking about NickComedy, because it is a show that first was broadcasted here in Germany on NickComedy and was later broadcasted on Comedy Central before the German division of Comedy Central became crap and started broadcasting things I don't want to see anymore. The show I'm talking about is called Veronica's Closet. It's a comedy show from the end of the 90s, 1997, and was produced till 2000, and starred in its leading role Kirstie Alley, which I found hilarious in this show. Because Kirstie Alley portrayed this woman, Veronica Chase, who owns her own a lingerie company called Veronica's Closet. And the name of the show was an intended pun towards Victoria's Secret, just better. And the whole show was about her and her staff, like Leo and Josh and Olive. Olive has been portrayed by Kathy Najimy, who is a very, very cool actress, because she's also been in Sister Act in Hocus Pocus. In case you haven't seen her, then you might recognize her. And it wasn't the premise of this show, it was the jokes. It was solely the jokes of this show. This The thing is, I have never seen this show in English, so I can't recite anything in English, which is a shame because I really would love to, but the German dub was really, really on point. The jokes were hilarious. I love watching it. And like Clarissa, I do have a video cassette with some episodes. The thing is, recently I have discovered that this video cassette is suffering from getting older, which means one day I'm not able to watch this show anymore, because this show also has never been released on DVD, but not just here in Germany, but also in America. Nowhere. There are no DVDs anywhere from this show. I don't know why. A few years back, a few is a good is a good word to say. A few more years back, when I was searching through the internet for an answer, I read somewhere that there is a reason that there are no DVDs. And apparently it was linked to some kind of dispute or had something to do with Kirstie Alley. I'm not sure. Someone wrote that people should ask Kathy Najimy because she liked to talk about it more than Kirstie Alley does. But this is only from my memory. I can't say anything about it. I don't know. The thing is, I wish that people would say this is a great show and we want an international release on DVD. Because it's only 3 seasons. It's 66 episodes. It is not that hard. I personally find. And I think people would still watch this show if it would be around. And I, in front of a screen and behind the microphone, can hear the audience screaming, "Are you sure about that?" But it's not. And with those comedy shows, the most comedy shows I've watched were dropped around 2009 and 2010 when the decade changed, and a lot of shows were actually dropped from German television so that you were not able to watch them anymore unless they were available on any streaming services, which I don't know because I'm not a streaming service person. I'm a DVD box set person. So the next show is the show I can remember the least. Which is very sad to admit because this show has been produced from 2000 to 2008. Which means this is the youngest show on this list. The show's called Girlfriends and starred Tracee Ellis Ross, who's the daughter of Diana Ross from the Supremes, if you don't know. And this show was centered around 4 black females in Los Angeles. Like I mentioned, Tracee Ellis Ross, she portrayed the character of Joan Clayton, who was a lawyer. This is everything I can remember. And I liked the show. I can't even remember what for. I think it was the jokes or the characters. I liked this show, and I really would like to watch this show again. But as I said, some of those shows were actually dropped from broadcasting around the decade change, at least the last decade change. And there is a DVD box set, a complete set, but this is only released in America, which is of no use for me, since they are coded differently, I presume, and can't be used here in Germany or in Europe in general. Also, this is some kind of show that I would like to watch in my native language, in my mother tongue, because this is how I discovered it. I watched it in German. I knew the jokes in German. I don't even know the jokes anymore. This is so sad. I don't know how, when I was researching, I once discovered some kind of trailer, a NickComedy trailer for the show. I can put a link in the description so that you can watch it. Of course it's in German, but then you may get an idea if you have never heard of a show. Also, there has been another show that is also called Girlfriends, which has been released, I think, last year. But it has got nothing to do with this other show. It's a British show starring Zoe Wanamaker, who also has been in my family. And I don't know what it's about, but I'm pretty sure it's not about the same thing. Since Zoe Wanamaker is clearly not a black woman. Anyways, here in Germany, this show is like dead. If you would go out on the street and ask people, have you ever seen the show Girlfriends with this 4 black women? They would go like, no, never heard of it. And this is the problem. And they wouldn't say, no, I've never heard of it, Because we're in Germany, they would basically say, nein, tut mir leid, da habe ich noch nie von gehört. So, the last entry on this list is another show I really like, and which is, in my mind, connected to a comedy show I already own on DVD. I'm talking about Alf. I already own Alf, the complete show on DVD. I really love Alf. The show I'm talking about is one of those comedy shows that hasn't been broadcasted on NickComedy before it was aired on Comedy Central. So this is a slight difference. The show I'm talking about is called Unhappily Ever After. I am linking this show to Alf because in Unhappily Ever After there's a character called Mr. Floppy, and in Germany Mr. Floppy has been voiced by the same voice actor as Alf. So they had the same voice, so they are mentally connected for me. The show centers around the Malloy family, the husband and wife, Jack and Jenny Malloy, and the children, Tiffany, Ryan, and Ross. And this comedy show is, I think, the mother of American comedy shows. It's just like Married with Children, only better. And I say this because I have once watched an episode of Married with Children, where Peg and the daughter, I don't even know the daughter's name, were treating a microwave oven as if it was some kind of alien thing. And I just thought, how can you portray women so stupid? I mean, if I would have had to play this as a woman, I would have said, I'm not going to portray this. This is a comedy show, but I am not stupid. Just ignore me stumbling about so many words. This is how I usually sound when I'm in a rage. So I just didn't find it funny, okay? Also, it feels like this canned laughter was only there so people would eventually laugh. No, Unhappily Ever After was way, way better. Because maybe some of the character arcs and designs were similar. But in the end, I found Unhappily Ever After funnier because of the jokes. The jokes were better. I can remember a joke where Jack Malloy explained to his daughter that when you have a certain reputation in America, this is never going to change. That's the reason that Sharon Stone is still called sexy, that Eddie Murphy is still called funny, and that Michael Jackson is still called black. And I think those kind of jokes were maybe inappropriate these days, especially when it comes to Michael Jackson, who has died a few years ago. By the way, this show has been produced between 1995 and 1999, so it is a very vivid 90s comedy. The thing is, there are no releases for this show, either in Germany/Europe or America. Nowhere. I once read on the internet that someone has put up the work to collect all the episodes and burn them onto DVDs himself so that he can sell them. So he taped all of those episodes from TV, put them on DVDs just to sell them. Some people must have really much time on their hands. And that from a person that puts up the work to film videos, edit them, does his own audio commentary, and then tries to maintain some kind of release and upload pattern. Very, very well played. Just imagine that! Doing that, sitting down, taping 100 episodes. Like, 100 episodes is a lot. I have forgot to mention that Girlfriends has actually 172 episodes, which is the biggest amount of episodes a show on this list has, but 100 episodes is quite a lot for a comedy show, I think. And someone actually taped those 100 episodes and put them on DVDs. Apparently, maybe he also bothered to put them in the right order. I mean, this is... I would never do that, no. No! Like I said, I read it on the internet. I don't know if it's true. Maybe it was just a pun or a scam or anything. But those shows that I have just explained to you, those shows are going to be lost forever in a few years. Because less and less people are going to remember these shows. Those shows were great for their characters, for their premise, for their humor, for their jokes. The most of the comedy shows were actually just good for the jokes. I mean, I really like the character of Veronica, for example, because she's very, very neurotic. I really like the, like, I can remember Veronica said, I really would like to take her head between my hands and press it till helium comes out. Something like this. This is totally ecstatic. I'm laughing about those stuff. This is what made me. Those comedy shows have refined my personality. And those shows are going to vanish from this earth. Because less and less people are going to remember. And eventually no one's going to remember that those shows actually existed. And then they're going to be dead. And people who played in this show were like, yeah, I did this show once, but no one remembers it. Because it has never been put on DVD. And has been marketed to other countries. The thing is, all of those shows that I have listed today were broadcasted in various countries around the world. And that no one else stood up and said, we want the DVD release, is so sad. Like, there is another show that I could have put on this list, but only for half the show. Because the show The Nanny, starring Fran Drescher, I bet everyone knows The Nanny. I don't have to explain what The Nanny is about. It's so popular. Half of this show, season 4 to 6, because it's only a total of 6 seasons. The last 3 seasons, 4 to 6, were never ever released as DVDs or anything here in Germany. And I don't understand why, because this is one of the most popular comedy shows. Like, if Golden Girls wouldn't have been on DVD, this would have also raised the same question. Why not? There is a complete box set of Golden Girls from the 80s. Was produced, I think, end 80s, beginning of the 90s, and there are DVD sets, and there are other shows which are, incidentally, like Girlfriends, much younger and are not available on DVD. And this is something I don't understand. In this time today, these days, we should have the possibility to say we want all those shows on DVD. Or maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe you, who has been watching this video so far, which means you are almost at the end, keep pulling through, have never heard of these shows. Maybe you have never heard that there was a show called Veronicas Closet, or Girlfriends, or Unhappily Ever After. You don't know the actors, you don't know the characters, you don't know the premise, you don't know anything. And I'm just telling you about these shows in a very fast-speaking manner, I have to admit. And you're just like, he says those shows were good, but where's the confirmation? I mean, I can't check it. Unless you find episodes or certain scenes on YouTube or other video streaming services. But it's a real shame that those shows are going to be lost. And this is what I wanted to say. This is what I wanted to raise the awareness that these shows existed. I mean, Clarissa is a show that clearly is not going to be as forgotten as the other 3. But in the end, it is sad. And it makes me sad that some part of the heritage of my personality is going to be buried under shows that are produced these days that are not funny, that are not long-lasting, that have poor characters, poor jokes, and are poorly executed. Because there is so much garbage out there, and those shows who have been funny, I mean, not all the time. Every show has its ups and downs, but those shows are important to me. I hope I made that clear. So, this is the end of the video. If you have ever seen those shows, please tell me in the comments, what do you feel about those shows? Have you felt the same as me, like I want DVDs and never got them? Please tell me, share your experiences with the show, what you liked, what you hated, I don't care. Give me some input. Because what I really love is talking about those shows, the things that are essential to my character, to my personality. And every now and then I recite some of those jokes. I mean, mostly I'm the only person laughing about them. But I don't care. This is funny to me. And by reciting it, reciting is actually the only way to keep it alive. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep those shows alive. And I did a very big part of it today when I was filming this video, telling you about those great shows. And maybe one day, some executive producers or other people will say, hey, there are those shows in our vault. Maybe we should release it. Maybe the audience waited all those years for those shows. Maybe one day this is going to happen. But I don't know when, because I haven't got a crystal ball. And even if I had a crystal ball, I would only look at glass. In a globe form. Alright, that's it with the video for today. If you liked the video, then please give it a like. And if you like the general idea of my channel, then please subscribe. For all the German people in my audience, why don't you just check out my blog? The link is in the video description. If you want to follow my Instagram, either German or English, the links are also in the description. So long, my friends, and I hope you will return for the next video. Goodbye.